You're listening to the Journey podcast. Can we proactively design our lives to support longevity and well-being? Listen to today's episode to find out more. This episode contains adult subject matter and listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. Creating a longevity plan is essential for cultivating a healthy and fulfilling life, especially during the transformative midlife phase. In this episode, we delve into the topic of crafting a longevity plan with a special focus on midlife while recognizing its relevance for all stages of life. Our guest, an expert in the field, shares some powerful biohacking tools and sheds light on the benefits of utilizing genetics tests, micronutrient tests, and Dexa scans in crafting a personalized longevity plan. We explore how these tools can provide valuable insights into your genetic predispositions, nutritional deficiencies, and body composition, empowering you to make informed decisions about your health and optimize your well-being. Jill Foos is a national board-certified health and wellness coach located in Chicago. She developed a deep connection and interest in health and wellness starting at age 16 as a high-level competitive equestrian rider. Back then, she was eating the typical standard American diet and realized that she was not performing at her optimal level. In 2000, after giving birth to her fourth of 5 children, she had to have half of her thyroid removed, which was the beginning of a cascade of negative side effects, including sleep disturbances, hormonal fluctuations, low energy and libido, cognition issues, hair thinning, and more. She has spent the last 23 years focusing on holistic ways to optimize her lab results, performance, and daily life through making changes to her lifestyle. Jill completed the Institute for Integrative Nutrition Health Coach program in 2018, the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy program in 2019, Supplement Specialist certification in 2022, and the Revero Carnivore Coaching program in 2021. Helping people discover their unique longevity equation is her passion. She is also the founder of Jill Foos Wellness, a private health coaching business that serves individuals from all over the world virtually. Let's meet Jill Foos. Hi, Jill. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because we will be talking about creating your longevity plan. Amazing topic. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks, Petra. I'm so pleased to be here to share all that I can with your community.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to have you here today. And do you want to share a little bit about yourself and your own story to start with?
Absolutely. I'd love to. I am a national board certified health and wellness coach, a functional medicine health coach, an integrative nutrition health coach, and a carnivore coach. So lots of coaching experience and education behind me. And I reside in the city of Chicago. I am in my mid-50s and have 5 kids. And I love working one-on-one with clients. And my story started when I was about 16, and I was a competitive equestrian horseback rider. And I never really felt great. And so I sort of took it upon myself to figure out, well, what can I do to help myself feel better? And back then, which were, being in my mid-50s, we're talking many decades ago, there wasn't really a lot of information out there. We certainly didn't have the internet like we do now. And so I found local farms, and I had my mom drive me so far away from our home to these local farms to pick up organic eggs and organic, fresh dairy, unpasteurized milk, different types of meats, and bring it all home and cook it. And my family absolutely thought I was nuts. They just could not understand why this was so important to me. So for many years, I did that, including through my college years. I was the roommate who always sought the locally grown organic type of produce and grains and dairy products and all those things, all these whole foods. So I was that one that put together all these recipes, and I would literally skip classes in college just so I could focus on all these wholesome foods and create these amazing meals for myself and for my roommates. And I ended up raising my children this way. Fast forward years, and I had 5 children, and I raised them on all the organic foods as well. I made all their baby food, all their little baby biscuits, everything was organic. Years went by, and I started to having other health issues, and I ended up having to have a partial thyroidectomy where half my thyroid was removed. And that has now been the root cause of 20 plus years of health issues for me. And it's sort of taken me along a vast journey into functional medicine to figure out, well, how can I make myself feel the most optimal at every age and every decade, and then also support my kids who are now in their 20s on their journeys as well. So we all live this journey that's very holistic. We look at functional medicine and integrative nutrition to support our health goals. And we all have different health issues. I have a big family. Everybody has issues, and our equations all look different from the others.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that journey with us. And I'm in awe that you were able to do the farm to table thing at such a young age. It's something many people dream about, especially living in a city, getting the fresh produce and all of that. So, wow, that's absolutely amazing. Now, I'm kind of curious when you think that people should start thinking about their longevity plan, because when we're younger, it's not really something that we think about, like after high school and college, most people don't really run out and go, oh, I should reduce chemicals, I should eat organic. Some people might, but I think most people don't. So when should we start thinking about that?
Well, that's a great question, because for me, knowing that I was so dialed into my own health and wellness journey, and then I had my 5 children, it started very young for them. And they do live that lifestyle. But you're right. For most people, we're not thinking about it in our teens and in our 20s. And we're definitely not thinking about it until something happens, till there's some kind of chronic health condition, or maybe there was a surgery, or maybe there was a poor lab report that came back. So something has to happen for someone to sort of wake up to, oh, maybe I need to do things a little differently so that I can optimize how I'm going to feel from here on out, whether it's the next 20 years or whether it's the next 50 years. So I think the right time to start is when you feel you need to pivot your lifestyle and make changes.
And you're right. I think for most people, that happens when they've had sort of a bit of a health scare and they have to start thinking about it. Because I remember in college living off of Ichiban soup because it was really cheap. So
Right.
it's so far removed from actually making a plan and thinking about your health and what the poor food quality does to you going forward. So yeah, that's a great point. And let's talk a little bit about women in particular, because we do have a lot of changes that happen throughout our lifetimes with the hormone levels and all of that. So we can have quite the challenging times, I would say, to stay healthy and to feel great. So how can women in particular support themselves during their midlife, maybe especially around perimenopause or postmenopause, because those are very challenging
Mhm.
times for us as well?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the first line of defense for everybody are lifestyle interventions. So looking at your quality of sleep, how do you manage your stress? Are you exercising? What does that look like for you? What's your nutrition like? Are you part of your community? And then I'd like to add, and this isn't a typical lifestyle intervention, but for me as a health coach, building your healthcare team to me should be one of the pillars of a lifestyle intervention, because you need to have a good doctor on board. And maybe you have a health coach like myself, or maybe you have a dietitian or a nutritionist. Maybe you have a mental health expert who's part of your healthcare team. Maybe there's even a life coach. So I think building people around you to help support your greater vision is really an important addition to that longevity plan and what we can do when we're in midlife. Because you're right, going through the menopausal transition can be really brutal. Some people breeze through it and some people have a really hard time. But at the end of the day, all of these lifestyle interventions matter no matter where you fall on that spectrum.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there are many different moving parts in it. And that's why I love the suggestion of building a team, because you may need access to different perspective, different modalities. So that's a really great point. And are there challenges that you experienced where you needed lifestyle interventions also around pregnancy? I know that's another time and there are a lot of changes happening for women. So
Well, my goodness, I was pregnant so long ago. I know things have changed, and I had actually very easy pregnancies. It's probably why I ended up having 5 kids. But I know I have worked with young women who are starting to prepare to family plan. And so they want to get more comprehensive labs done. They want to look at their micronutrient status. Maybe they want to look at their genetics. I feel that people want to be more prepared now because I think that most people having babies now, especially the people that I see, are more in their early 30s. Back in my day, we were in our, early 20s to mid 20s. We were really, really young. But now I feel people are waiting longer. And so they're having more time to be exposed to more current scientific information about pregnancies, about optimizing their health and wellness to prepare for that time in their life. So just they're starting off at more of an older, wiser age. And so I do think they're more dialed into it. And yes, for sure, I think making sure you're eating properly before you decide to become pregnant. If you are overweight, losing that weight and optimizing that body composition, which would be, losing fat and gaining lean muscle mass. Anything they can do in their lifestyle to prepare themselves for a pregnancy is always going to be better.
yeah. And one of the challenges I think that many women experience as they're having hormonal fluctuations is getting proper rest or proper sleep. And
Mhm.
I think that it does happen during college, maybe due to the exam stress and that as well. But I think later on with pregnancy, menopause, those are some of the stages where I think sleep can be quite compromised. And do you have any tips on how women can optimize their sleep during this time, since rest is a really important thing for well-being?
Well, let's start with talking about sleep during our midlife, for midlife women, because that's where you and I both are. And as far as having optimal sleep during pregnancies, well, that is really challenging. So let's focus on midlife because when you're pregnant, it's a whole nother ball game. You're uncomfortable with your size, and getting into a good position. Your hormones are really fluctuating. Maybe you have another young child at home who's not sleeping through the night. So there's a lot of other moving components to that scenario. But in midlife, there are things that we can do to optimize our sleep. And this is one of the things I really focus on because sleep is probably the number one medicine to your longevity plan. If you don't have sound restorative sleep, nothing else is really going to be optimal. So sleep is where I like to focus on. And so what does that bedtime routine look like? Well, we've heard so many times to not use our screens in our bedroom. And I always remind my midlife women, your bedroom is there for 2 reasons only: sleep and sex, right? You want to watch TV before you get into your bedroom to go to bed, go to your living room or you're done, right? So I highly suggest to remove all electronics from the bedroom, but that's something that we've all learned over the many years. Some other things that might be new is keeping your room cool. And so for some people, keeping a cool room might mean 68 to 70 degrees. Well, there's been a lot of studies on what is the optimal cool temperature to have in your room during sleep, and it's 65 degrees. So some people might think that's really cold, but your body needs to cool down so that it can get into a deeper sleep. So when you're hot, especially during midlife and you're having those hot flashes, keeping your room really cool is going to support better sleep for you. The other is some people go and buy a cooling pad. This is a mattress pad. It's a pad that goes over your mattress. It's temperature controlled. I use one. It has been an absolute game changer. The only thing that I can say that is wrong with it is when you go on vacation and you cannot bring it with you, your sleep is not going to be as good. because you're going to be so spoiled with this cool bed. So now you've got the cool air, you've got the cool mattress, and that helps your body stay at a nice, cool temperature to sleep. I don't wake up during the middle of the night anymore. I don't wake up with hot flashes. I sleep through the night. It's been an absolute game changer. So cooling mattress pads are fantastic. Sound machines. A lot of people don't have sound machines. And when I suggest them, they think, oh no, I don't need that. I'm fine. But when they do introduce it, it's another game changing component to their bedtime routine, drowning out all of the outside noise and also just stimulating your brain to be in this white noise space really helps relax you. So I use, especially if you live in a city like I do, using a sound machine is a great idea. And you can get little travel size ones. There's even apps on your phone. So there's really no excuses why you can't dial into a sound machine. And also keeping your room dark. So some people think just shutting their shades and closing doors is dark enough. But if you have any electronics in your room, like maybe an air conditioning unit, or you have a clock radio or anything that has a light, you have to cover, because believe it or not, these tiny little blue and red lights coming off of electronics can be disruptive to our sleep. So making sure it's completely blacked out. And let's see, what else did I miss here? Oh, and then another thing that a lot of people don't think about in terms of bedtime routine are supplements. I can't give any medical advice on supplements, but there are certain supplements that can really help people benefit and get into that more deep restorative sleep. Things like magnesium in the evening, things like glycine, L-theanine, even magnesium L-threonate, which is the only form of magnesium that crosses the blood-brain barrier and works to calm our minds. So there's definitely different supplements that you can work with your healthcare practitioner to see what could be a good stacked protocol for you to use before sleep, because most of us need exogenous supplements to help us reach those optimal goals. And one of those is deep sleep. And then another is making sure your thyroid is optimized, making sure your sex hormone and your cortisol levels are all optimized, right? Because while these aren't typical bedtime routines, if these are not in balance, they will affect your ability to sleep soundly.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for this wealth of wisdom that you've just given us about sleep routines, because I agree, sleep is such an important part of how we feel and that we feel well. So it's one of the top things that we should really look at when we're starting to create the longevity plan. And those are some great tips. Now, it sounds to me that there's maybe not a one size fits all approach for every woman out there during midlife. So how can women kind of prioritize what is unique about them and what they should address first? Do you have any tips on that?
Well, like I said, the sleep is number one. And then number two, probably number one and two is sleep and gut health, right? What is the status of their gut health? And that's different for everybody. And so I connect gut health with, well, what are they eating? And so one thing that might apply to all women is that women need to optimize their protein intake. And most women, I would say 98% of the women that I work with that are in midlife come to me and they are drastically under eating protein. And it is the most important macronutrient for many reasons. One is it breaks down into amino acids. It is the building block of all of our tissues and our lean muscle mass. So if you're on a weight loss journey and you eat optimal amounts of protein, you're going to help yourself feel satiated and fuller for longer because it's a very satiating macronutrient. You're also going to help yourself utilize those amino acids and build up your lean muscle mass while you're working on fat loss. And so those are your body composition goals. How do we help women eat more protein? What is that number? And that's pretty much the first question they ask. Well, how do I know how much? The general rule of thumb is if you're someone who's active and you're working out, no less than 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. So I want to emphasize the ideal body weight, because if we're starting with someone who's 175 pounds and they're overweight and their ideal body weight is 130 pounds, we want to use that goal weight, that 130-pound goal weight as the number. So as a rule of thumb, I like all of my midlife women to be eating at least 100 grams of protein per day. But if there's someone who is really active like myself and in the gym and lifting weights, 4, 5, 6 times a week, then they may need more protein because as you exercise more, as you become more active, your body requires more nutrients, more macronutrients, more micronutrients. So we have to replenish ourselves and sometimes gives ourselves a little extra to have on reserve. So our body utilizes these nutrients to run the ship, right? To do all the things our body needs to do to stay alive and to excel and thrive. So 100 grams of protein per day to me is a great starting point for women because, like I said, most women who come to me, they might be eating less than 60 grams of protein a day. So 100 grams is still a big jump for them. And we move towards that goal very slowly. So one of the things I provide for my clients is a cheat sheet on protein. And so how many grams of protein is in a regular sized boneless, skinless chicken breast, or in an ounce of, a 4 ounce piece of steak, or in how many shrimp equals how many grams of protein. So I break this all down so that they sort of have this cheat sheet because it's not only about making sure that you have enough protein, but what does that even look like on a plate? What does that look like throughout the day? And what does it feel like when you eat? So all these are going to be a lot of different changes for women that they're not used to, and it can become very overwhelming. So going slow, really being mindful about the protein, 3 times a day is optimal, right? Spread that protein throughout 3 meals a day and prioritize that protein. When the protein is on the plate, eat the protein first so you know that you are going to get it all in and then move to your healthy fats and to your smart carbs or your whatever else is on your plate. So always prioritizing that protein and using fat and using carbohydrates as a lever to make it more individualized for yourself based on your goals.
Yeah. Amazing. I didn't know I had to eat that much protein. So I will definitely pay more attention to that. But these are amazing things to learn about and to become aware of.
Well, here's the interesting thing. As we go through menopause, as we age, we require more and more protein. So as we age, we lose our lean muscle mass at, a steady rate every single year. I think it's like 1 to 3% loss of lean muscle mass every year when you're in midlife. Or I believe since you're in your early 20s, we start losing lean muscle mass. So it gets harder and harder as you age to build lean muscle mass and to maintain lean muscle mass. I have been in the gym since I was 16 for many, many decades, and I've always loved working out with weights. Now I'm 55 and I'm still lean and fit, but it takes so much more energy and mindfulness for me to get to the gym and lift heavy weights in proper form and to support myself with eating more protein. It's not getting easier. It is actually getting harder. And I'm already starting from a healthy foundation. So if you think about someone coming to this, looking to optimize their health and they're in midlife and they really don't have great healthy habits, this is going to be a really hard place to start. And that's why building your healthcare team is so important. Work with a health coach, work with a nutritionist, work with someone who can help you on the nutrition side and the lifestyle side. Maybe you need to hire a personal trainer for a bit until you get more comfortable with correct form, because you don't want to hurt yourself. But as we age, the process is harder and harder, and we lose more lean muscle mass and we gain more fat. And so there's sarcopenia, which maybe some of your listeners have heard of. Sarcopenia is the disease of the elderly. So if you can picture in your mind an elderly person walking across the street and they're very frail looking, and if they fall and they break a hip, the staggering odds are if they break a hip within that first year of their broken hip, they will die. And so, as we're in midlife and we're women going through this menopausal transition, we have to be mindful about osteoporosis, our bone health. And our bone health is really going to be only as good as. And so eating more protein and really optimizing that amount of protein and getting in the gym and building those lean muscles is really part of the longevity plan as midlife women age.
Yeah, that really puts it into perspective when you talk about that, and that we should be paying attention to this much earlier than maybe some of us are doing.
Yes.
So yeah, wow. Those are some staggering odds. I don't like those. So, wow.
They are staggering.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we've talked a little bit about sleep. We've talked a bit about nutrition. Are there any other sort of easy biohacking tools that women can do in their homes to support their longevity plan?
Absolutely. And I love biohacking tools, but I also realize that they come with an expense and not everybody can, afford to buy all these biohacking tools. So I have some suggestions that don't require any cost and some that might. So cold showers, right? Not everybody has a cold plunge tool or cold plunging bath in their apartment or in their home or in their backyard, right? So cold plunging is coming to the forefront, to the mainstream. There's a lot of information out there about how good it is for us. But if you're like me and you live in a high rise in the middle of the city and you don't have access, you have your cold shower. So I use my cold shower at the end of my shower. You always want to end on a cold shower. And this helps activate something called brown fat. And brown fat is not all over our body. It's not our adipose fat. It's not our subcutaneous fat. It's in specific areas on our body. It's really fascinating. And brown fat is healthy and it helps us burn fat off our body as well. So we want to activate that brown fat for a multitude of reasons. So cold showers, and you don't need to stand in the cold shower at the end of your shower for 20 minutes. I'm talking like, 5 minutes. Just start to get used to it. Do a minute at a time. It shouldn't be comfortable. It shouldn't be fun. It's not enjoyable. It's not meant to be any of those things, but it will help you. You're also going to feel a lot more energy when you end your shower on a cold shower. So you're going to feel better, and you're also going to be doing some other biochemical things inside your body with the use of a cold shower. If you have a cold plunge, then if you already own a cold plunging pool, awesome. Get in it, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, just for a few minutes and let it do its magic. So cold showers are awesome. And after that, I would say early morning sunlight, right? So many people are not getting out in the sun early in the morning. And if they do, they've got sunglasses on. So take your sunglasses off, go out in the early morning when the sun is rising, get the sun rays in your eyes. That activates so many things such as your melatonin, right? So when we wake up in the morning, our cortisol levels are waking us up. And then we want our cortisol to even out throughout the day and go down in the late afternoon, early evening, preparing us for sleep. At the same time, we want melatonin to be produced and at the end of the day and climbing higher and higher. So that helps us get into sound restorative sleep. So early morning sunlight resets your circadian rhythm every day. It's also been shown to support your overall cardiovascular health. So lots of great things with the sun. And 15 minutes out in the sun is great. If you're drinking your coffee, go out and stand in the sun and look into the sun. If you're like me and you have dogs, take them for an early morning walk. Don't wear your sunglasses. So that is a really easy fix for many people. And then deep breathing. So whether you're someone who likes to meditate and deep breathe upon waking or before you go to sleep, I think deep breathing is something that all of us should be practicing. And in fact, when you're in the cold shower and you're having trouble breathing, that's a great place to start deep breathing because you want to help your body relax so you can stay in the cold shower for a little bit longer. So deep breathing is a great one. And then exercise, right? We talked a little bit about building lean muscle mass and eating that optimal amount of protein, but exercise is great. And there's a lot of times you hear people ask the question of, well, what's the best type of exercise? And some people have this answer. They say it's the form of exercise that that person enjoys the most. I don't really love that answer, and here's why. If I ask you what's your favorite way of exercising, and Petra, you tell me that you really enjoy 20 to 30-minute leisurely walks every day, and that's all you do, I would say those are great. Love the early morning walks, but that's definitely not going to move the dial as you're in midlife as part of your longevity plan. We need to build lean muscle mass. And one of the things that a test that you can go take is called a Dexa scan. And they have them all over. And the Dexa scan is going to give you body composition information as well as your bone health information. It gives you a Y score and a T score, telling you, where you fall on that spectrum of osteoporosis. And so I love this. I'm someone who is a strong believer in gathering data so that my clients can see data and then they can start pivoting their lifestyle in a direction where they need to go to thrive. So for me, yes, I love the healthy early morning walks, but you have to do something to build lean muscle mass. And maybe that means just starting out with body weight. Maybe that means yoga with some resistant bands, or maybe that means getting into the gym with a trainer and really working on your lean muscle mass. And then we also know that cardio is also a huge component of our heart health. And so I love to introduce people to HIIT classes, right? Where there's the strength training and the cardio. So there's been a lot of studies done on HIIT classes, HIIT training for women, and that it's a fantastic way for them to move the dial. And what's really interesting is I do genetic testing on all of my clients. And there's one panel that's called diet and lifestyle. And it looks at a gene and tells us, well, what's the optimal form of exercise for this person based on their genes? And I would say 9 out of 10 times it's HIIT training with that cardio and that lean muscle mass building. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I also think one more I want to mention is there's a free online test. It's called VIA, and I can give you the link after we're done talking. It asks you a series of questions and it helps you look at what character traits are strong for you, and it gives them on a scale. And so you can look at your top 5 character traits and start utilizing those, reminding yourself that you have these character strengths to use in your health journey, right? In your longevity plan, right? So looking at things, maybe one of them is honesty, right? Really being honest with yourself. Are you healthy? Where are your weaknesses and where are your strengths, and how can you pivot? Be honest with yourself, right? Maybe it's humor. Well, how can you inject humor into this longevity plan for yourself? So I always have my clients do this VIA test online so that we can utilize these character traits along the journey. And that's free. So there are some amazing free things. Another biohacking tool I love is red light therapy. And now with red light therapy, there's all different prices to purchase at home devices. So you don't have to go to your doctor's office and buy this more expensive, 10 pack or 20 pack, and you can only get there twice a week or maybe once a week, right? Red light therapy is best used on at least 5 days a week. And it's also wonderful because as you're sitting in front of your red light therapy at home device, you can practice your deep breathing and do some meditation. And so I love combining all these different therapies together so that it becomes more efficient and more time saving throughout my day. But red light therapy to me is an awesome investment to make. And you can buy a small box for around $150 all the way up to huge wall panels that are thousands of dollars. So there's a price point for most people.
Yeah, and those sound like wonderful tools. And thank you so much for sharing those with our listeners, because I do think, like you said, if you combine some things and also you find out your character traits and how you can support your journey, that will make things a lot more easier to integrate into your life as well. Yeah, love that. And you work with clients on the longevity journeys as well. And do you want to go over some of your programs and services so listeners can get a feel of how they could work with you in their own healing journey?
Oh, I'd love to. So I have 3 different packages. So one is called my menopause package, one is a hair loss package, and one is a general health coaching package. Because while my sweet spot is working with midlife women, I also work with men and teenagers and young adults. So in all of my packages, they're set up very similar. They all include certain tests. One is a micronutrient test. I think I touched on it a little bit in the beginning of the podcast, but a micronutrient test is a blood test that looks inside your cells. So when you go to your doctor and you get a blood draw, they're looking at serum levels, what's going on in your blood. So I'm also interested in what is going on inside each cell, because inside the cell is where the magic happens, right? So if we go back to biology class way back when, and we think about the mitochondria that are in the cells, the mitochondria take the nutrients that we provide either through our diet or through supplements, and it converts those into ATP, which is our energy currency in our body. And it's that energy currency that makes everything happen in our body. If we do not have mitochondrial health, we are not going to have optimal health. So I think about health as optimizing our mitochondria on a cellular basis. If we can look inside and see where do all the micronutrients, what is their status inside? So we're looking at vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and then some other micronutrients as well. Then we can correct those through lifestyle. We can correct those through our diet, and we can correct those through personalized supplements if needed. So that's one of the tests that I do for everybody, because if you think about hair loss, for example, and I've gone through hair loss for 25 years since I had my partial thyroidectomy, and I've finally have reversed my hair loss. But hair growth requires a lot of energy. And if your mitochondria are not optimized, your body is really smart, and it's going to say, okay, we don't have a lot of energy being produced for whatever reason that is. So we're going to have to decide, where do we put the energy? And of course, your energy is going to go towards your major organs, right? To keep you alive. You don't need hair to stay alive. Hair is just something we want. It's not a need. And so by optimizing your mitochondrial health, by looking at your micronutrient status, we can help correct those deficiencies and help support better hair growth. And that is where I started with my hair growth journey. And then my menopause package is built the same way. I also look at micronutrient status, because as we're going through menopause, as we're aging, our mitochondria becomes less and less strong in numbers and in quality. So we're losing mitochondria in quantity, and we're losing how well they work. So really in menopause is a time to really start honing in on your mitochondrial health. And that red light therapy box works on a mitochondrial level. It works on a cellular level, which is why I love it so much. So just stacking these protocols. And then for general health coaching, well, if someone comes to me and maybe they have IBS or IBD, celiac disease, SIBO, maybe they're struggling with their skin health. Well, I also want to look at their mitochondrial function. I want to look at their micronutrient status, because I need to correct these deficiencies to support the gut dysbiosis and the skin health. So you can see that the micronutrient status can be applied to everyone, everywhere. Another test I include in all of my packages is a genetic test. And I include 2 different panels. I have like 10 panels to choose from, and they range from hair loss genes to inflammation and autoimmunity genes, diet and lifestyle genes, skin health genes, women's health panel, a men's health panel, a neurotransmitter. So if I'm working with someone who has experienced a lot of anxiety and depression and mood disorders since they were very young, and nothing has really helped them, including being on other like SSRIs and other antidepressants, I want to look at their neurotransmitter status in their genes. So what are their genes? What's the story that their genes are telling us? And then by looking at that, along with the micronutrient deficiencies, I can start connecting the dots. So I really love these 2 tests together. I also help in all of the services provide referrals to professionals. So if my client needs a new doctor, maybe a functional medicine doctor, maybe they need a functional medicine cardiologist. So because I have my own podcast as well, I'm able to refer them to all these amazing, wonderful practitioners and doctors who are on telehealth. So you don't actually have to be in the same town or city as these doctors. They've all moved to telehealth.
Wow, those sound like some very comprehensive packages and an amazing start to everyone's longevity journey. So thank you so much for sharing those. And as Jill mentioned, she also has her own podcast called Health Trip, and you can listen in from your favorite podcast provider. And we will be linking to all of Jill's offerings in the show notes as well, including her podcast, her programs and services, and also the free tests that she mentioned that you can take online. Well, this has been another incredible episode, and I really hope our listeners have enjoyed the journey into creating your longevity plan as much as I have. I have learned so much in this time that we have spent together, Jill, and it has been fantastic chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Petra. It was an absolute joy.
Yeah, my pleasure. I hope we get to do this again and carry this message of the longevity plan to as many people as we can, because I think it's such an important topic to talk about that we often think about way too late in life. So yeah, thank you so much for all the wisdom you brought, and take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Journey on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejourney.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.